Termination to determination. My world changed in 1954 when our reservation was terminated and became a county. My parents were charged with neglect for not sending us to school and sent me to a boarding school, then eventually to a foster home. My mother wrote letters to the social worker and judge, which convinced them to send me back to live with them. And I started working with my mother, harvesting in the fields on and off the reservation. During this phase of my life, political leaders lobbied in Washington, D.C. to get our county status returned back to a federally recognized tribe as a reservation again. Later on, after 2 abusive relationships and 8 children later, I recognized my father's abusive pattern and my own alcohol problem and entered a treatment program. In sobriety, I made a decision to get my GED, look for a job that interested me. I went to cosmetology school before I got my GED, then went on to a summer institute at a college, which led me to getting a degree. And my first job was working with people who had the same issues I had, being an advocate for Native American women who were victims of domestic violence, child protection, and homelessness. When I started working with people who had the same issues as I had in my young life, I wasn't prepared to share my historical trauma with them up until I started that process of healing myself. It was in college that I learned about the Indian Religious Freedom Act, which led me to be more open about my tribal practices. Being determined opened the doors to share more about my tribe, sharing my own ancestors, my family, and how I have kept our culture intact by sharing pictures, objects, ceremonial items for others to feel more comfortable in sharing their own tribal ways. The moment that changed my life was when my son in 5th grade learned a ceremonial prayer from his teacher. Being comfortable after years of oppression, feeling comfortable in my current job led me to the position as a recovery coach that dispels stigmas we all have experienced. I speak out on long-term recovery. This has changed my life for the better, and I want to make it possible for others to do this by sharing their recovery story and life experiences for our younger generation.
Kamasa Masanot, Mashik, Mama Kono, Nakata, Manowich, Kikidom, Namiatatan, Sawpatch, No Toyan, Sawpatch, Kinabamia, Sawpatch, Namia, Owen, Katani, Moao, Nukako, Nitskis, Nanikia, Sawpatch, Kamantasea, Mashik, Muskoan, Matano, Makana, and it.
Poso, my name is Nelda Kepishgawit Goodman. I'm from the Menominee Indian Reservation of Wisconsin. I shared my first ever digital storytelling about 3 years ago. I enrolled in this year's digital storytelling workshop in hopes of transitioning an update from my former narrative to summarize where and how my life transitioned to living a clean and drug-free lifestyle. Sharing my life struggles and accomplishments is what I do in my daily life with others. I've been invited to speak to youth, young adults, women, and men, as well as elders in this area of Minnesota, sharing with them about how historical trauma affected myself and my immediate family during the relocation period, termination era, and the boarding school era of which I experienced. Grief struck our family when I was a mere 23 years old. 3 children when my mother passed away. She was the backbone of our traditional family life. This grief carried with me for the next 24 years. Being employed at a social service agency was the most important part of my healing and recovering from the trauma that affected some of devastating decisions I made during my young adult life. I had the opportunity to attend trainings, workshops, and conferences during the next 9 years of employment. Although attending college didn't prepare me for the work I would become involved with, I started to heal from within after each training I attended. I mentioned all of my healing in my previous video. And now to summarize for you all listening, in that we need to cleanse our souls, to let go of that pain. I reflect on all that the Creator has given me by living a good life. I went back to live on my reservation and learn from the elders on living a spiritual journey. This has helped me with all the daily ups and downs life gives us. My spiritual and religious belief has grown since I've been in recovery. I'm most proud of my youngest 2 children, who have grown into healthy young adults in preserving their cultural Native American dancing heritage. They also have acquired professional working goals as well. My other children have gained a similar work ethic that has led them to longevity in the work that they have chosen. So as a parent or grandparent, we must lead by example. So I say, Nétánawe Makinak, all my relatives, Init